Hey, and welcome back to episode 59 of the Cellarcast. I was away all week because of a number of things, so I don't know. I feel like my usual work routine might have gotten a little slipped up because of that, but it's fine. It's fine. Uh, Most of you, I don't really have anything to talk about, and there's no comment review, so I'm gonna kind of jump pretty quickly into, I guess, the meat of our topics for today, for this week, which would be Evo. Now, Evo... bleh. Evo happened over the weekend. I'm recording this on Monday. Hopefully it's going to go up on Monday, too. Evo happened over the weekend, and I was not there to see it. Not just in person, but this also happened to be the weekend that Crunchyroll Expo was. I believe I mentioned it at the end of the last episode. And it's a convention that my friends and I have gone to pretty much every year that it's been open. And we went this year, and it just so happened to be overlapping with the same weekend Evo was happening. So I was making sure to just check social media and stuff every couple hours just to see if there was any announcements. And oh boy, were there announcements! I kind of want to talk about CRX for a second first. So Crunchyroll Expo, or CRX. It's the convention put on by Crunchyroll, the anime streaming service, and it's Crunchyroll focused like on shows and stuff that they own, but it's also just sort of a general anime convention. My friends and I have gone every year, and it's been really fun all the time. This was the first year that I got to go there with Kat, and we had a lot of fun together. She was there as she did 3 different cosplays. The second day she did Ramona Flowers, and she got stopped so many times. She got stopped so many times for pictures. It was pretty funny. Whoa. Whoa. And actually, so goddamn. So the first day, she went as Velma from Scooby-Doo. I do not cosplay. I did not show up in a cosplay. However, I look how, I look, and I made the mistake of wearing a green shirt, and I also forgot to shave. I forgot to, shave before I left. I was like, yeah, no, I'm good. I try to be clean shaven. But I don't have, my facial hair doesn't grow that fast, so I only usually have to shave maybe once every week and a half. So the day before I left for what actually took up the bulk of my week, which was a retreat that I went on, I was like, yeah, I'm good. And then the next day, I looked at myself in the mirror after we'd done all the transportation, and I was at the retreat, and I didn't bring my razor, by the way. And I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was like, oh man, now I'm at the point where I'd like to shave. So I went a week, a week without shaving, a week more without shaving than I would have liked to. So I was kind of scruffy. And I look how I look. So more than one person thought that I was supposed to be Shaggy. I was like, no, I'm not in cosplay. I just wear a green shirt. It was pretty funny. Yeah, the overall, if I'm gonna be honest, the convention was kind of weak this year. I'm gonna be honest. Mostly just in terms of panels, just not a lot of stuff I was interested in. It was a lot of a musical performance and a guest that I wasn't really interested in, or a thing about the industry that I wasn't very interested in. Even the cosplay panels, Kat wasn't that interested in going to. So Yeah, it was mainly fun, just like as like a social thing to hang out and see things. What also kind of hurt my experience is the fact that I don't really watch anime anymore. I just haven't for a while. There's stuff that I probably would enjoy, but I just haven't because I don't know. I feel like I've mentioned this before, but I do not have the patience to like sit down and watch an episode of something, or maybe like more than 2 episodes of something at a time. Like I get so fatigued. I need to get up and walk around, and I have to think about it, and before I can sit down, it's like this really big mental process compared to like any other type of media consumption. For some reason, I wish I read more manga, but I haven't. Uh, so like, I was okay previously because it was like all stuff that you would see at like the dealer hall and all that kind of stuff was stuff I was familiar with, stuff I already liked from when I was really into that, and other kind of related stuff that I was interested in. And now there's been this like noted like sea change in the anime, like what's popular, what's trending in anime. There were 5 things that were like inescapable at CRX this year. It was One Piece, Dragon Ball, which like does to be expected, Genshin, Demon Slayer, and Spy Family or Spy X Family. I don't know if it's supposed to be the X is supposed to be pronounced or not. I'll say Spy Family. Those were inescapable. None of which I have watched or played, I guess, in the case of Genshin. I technically did watch like 7 episodes of Demon Slayer, and then I got bored and stopped watching it. Also, nothing Kat's seen. Actually, no, wait, she was watching Spy Family, so that was the one thing. I felt so... I had my, like Changes by David Bowie moment, where I'm looking around, I'm like, where's the Toho figures? Where's the... I don't feel safe. Where's the Toho figures? They're all gone. Let me tell you, I'm not a... I think I've addressed this before, but I'm not like really into buying things unless it's video games. So I'm not... I did pick up 1 or technically 3 things while I was there, but I generally kept my spending pretty low, except for like food, which I ordered there. It was very expensive. But I was like, hey, maybe it's been a while since I've bought like a figure, Maybe it would be if I see something. I'm not like hunting for one to buy. Like I feel obligated to pick something up. I'm not like that. If I was like, maybe if I see something that really catches my eye and makes me go, well, maybe I'll consider it. I'll know it when I see it, kind of thing. And I'm looking around. I'm like, I don't really care for any of this. I was just looking for the Toho figures. I saw one. The only Toho figure I could find was of Tenchi. I was like, okay, Tenchi, she's fine. Sorry to all the Tenchi fans out there. It's like, Tenchi's fine. And then I look at, I keep looking around. There's another Tenchi at a different booth. And I'm like, really? The only other Toho figure, also Tenchi. Then I find a third booth that's selling Toho figures. Actually, I should say Toho figure, because it was just Tenchi again. I was like, what? Why is this figure everywhere? This character isn't even like super popular. The only other one I saw was the Quez figure of Ramelia, which is really cool. If you don't know Quez in the like anime figure world, I really like their figures. They do a lot of basically almost like, I would call it like alternate designs for characters. So they'll take so they have how should I, like, alternate designs are really like cool looking, sort of souped up character designs for existing characters. So I love this one they have of Sakuya, for instance. where, you know, Sakuya's typical outfit, she's like in the maid outfit and all that. They have this one where she's in this cool, like, it's this like pinstriped suit, all like almost like a stereotypical like mafia like gangster. Let me look up just refresh my memory to make sure I'm remembering it right. Sakuya Quez Q. They have another one that's a little more of like a standard look for her. Yeah, so it's like the maid outfit, but it's like this cool like pinstripe kind of look, like really thin. It's like her really dark blue, like navy blue, and then really thin like silver stripes. I was thinking of like Mafia for some reason. It looks so cool, and it's like she's all super sleek looking, this like black and white look. She looks really badass. Never seen it like in the wild. They have another really nice one of her than like a more traditional looking outfit for her, but with like I guess she has like a big yellow bow. But no, it's like they do some really nice ones. So they had one of Ramelia where she's more of like, I don't know how I describe it, evil looking. She's got like these really gnarled up like bat wings and what else? This big, I don't know, she just looks really edgy. It's really cool. And they sell like an alternate like black color scheme version. Really cool looking. It's the only other Toho one that I saw. Yeah, for the most part it was like Demon Slayer, One Piece, Genshin, Spy Family. And, like, you know, there was other, like, you know, Naruto, you saw decent... Oh, My Hero, that's the other one, My Hero. That would, I guess, be the 6th one. Just completely inescapable stuff. So it was, like, just a lot of stuff I didn't really, like, care about. Yeah, a lot of stuff I didn't care much for. Oh, my God. I think I posted this on Twitter, because I didn't know where else to post it, but it's really funny. They had an arcade. They've had an arcade in the past, and I thought it was really cool. Like, I remember one year they had a bunch of cool arcade games there. One of which was Mega Man: The Power Battles or Power Fighters. I don't remember which one it is. Which is like the Mega Man sort of like weird. It's like a crossover between like a fighting game and a beat 'em up, but very cool, very like rare cabinet to find. And they had one, and I was like, holy shit! I like took a video. I was like, it was really cool. So I went there this year. We checked it out. It was 90% rhythm games, and there's 2 fighting game cabinets on the side. One of which was a Persona 4 Arena Ultimax cab, which I was like, oh, cool. It's actually, we've got an announcement about that later. I was like, oh, cool. And interestingly enough, it was, it had to have been a Japanese cabinet just from the look of it, like imported. But for some reason, it was actually a side-by-side cabinet. Now, if you're not familiar, American, probably like European arcade cabinets, they have that, you know, the classic, like, you stand next to someone if it's a 2-player game, side-by-side. Japanese arcade cabinets, the standard is actually, what they do is, imagine if you take, they have like a double-sided cabinet. So the idea is, basically just take 2 arcade cabinets and place them back to back with each other. That'll be what theirs look like. And you play on one side and the other person plays on the other end. So like you don't see who you're playing while you're playing them. Interestingly, this one was actually a side-by-side one, which I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And right next to it was the saddest thing I've ever seen, which was the single-player BB tag machine. So, remember how 5 seconds ago when I said, you know, explained the traditional, like, double-sided Japanese arcade cabinet? This was a BlazBlue cross-tag cabinet, cross-tag battle cabinet, with only one side. It was only one person could play on it. There was one stick and one set of buttons, because it was just half of a cabinet. and it was it had big, you know, BB tag, the logo, everything on top, and I was like, damn, the BB tag players cannot catch a break. It's like, fuck. It was the picture I caught of it was when it was set to play Under Night. It was like a multi-game cabinet, which they'll have, you'll see those in like Japanese cabinets, like imported ones too. It'll be like, you'll actually have like a selection of games that you can play. You'll have like a home button, and then you just select which game you want to play. So I was looking at it. Yeah, BB Tag was one of the games, but it was like the main game. It was the main game, like on the cover, or on the, I guess, like the cabinet art, like at the top and everything. I ended up playing Exerd Rev 2 on it. And reminding myself how uncomfortable I am with arcade sticks. I guess not hitbox, but keyboard player here. Can't throw down on its actual stick. Also, it had the default Guilty Gear button layout, which I was not used to. I have like a weird arcane fucking button layout that I use. Here's the Tekken Guilty Gear button layout. So punch I put on K, kick is on L, slash is on O, and heavy slash is on I. Dust is on the semicolon key. And then I put a macro for Roman cancel on left shift. And then in Strive I use P as my dash macro. That's my cursed layout. It works for me, baby. I was going to the weird, or like the weird, but like, you know, the standard layout with like that weird little arch that they do where like the center bottom button is just not used. Is very weird for me. Yeah, other than that, panels were kind of weak, except for there was some fun kind of trivia ones that we saw. The first panel of the event was a VTuber one. It was Ollie and Bells from Hololive, and they were making a Hololive family tree, which was pretty funny. And Kat, who I dragged to this, she doesn't know anything about Hololive really, besides what I show her. She actually enjoyed it. She thought it was cute. It was a lot of fun. Bells made a Sweet Home Alabama reference, which was pretty funny. Mainly like there's a lot of VTuber stuff this year. Like the wave has hit. The VTuber wave has hit. They're everywhere now. Yeah, I had a good time, mainly as a social event. I was honestly thinking, man, I'd really like to be at EVO right now. And hey, speaking of EVO, so over the weekend I was checking announcements and things, and let me tell you, there were some wild things that happened this EVO. A lot of announcements. Actually, on Twitter, Lozy suggested some things for me to look up. What did you say? The IDOM run in the Street Fighter V finals. Yes, that was. I actually did watch that because SF5 finals happened on Sunday, so I was back by then. Also, the MK11 RoboCop mirror. So this was a pretty entertaining match. I went and checked it out. It's only really like one or two. I think they play like one or two rounds of it. What am I talking about? 1 or 2 rounds. They play like one game. So if this RoboCop mirror. If you don't know, I don't really follow MK11, but from what I understand, RoboCop is a character with no combos. Like, his combos are like maybe 2 hits. Like, he's playing CVS2 and not on A group, if you know what I'm talking about. He has like no combos. He's just zoning. He's just different kinds of zoning. And the RoboCop mirror, so I believe he was thought to be pretty weak when he first came out, and then people realized that, like, no, you just can't play him up close. Like, he really doesn't do shit. You play him as, like, a zoner. He's just hardcore zoning. And when you get two zoners against each other, it gets weird and interesting. So the matchup specifically is Sonic Fox versus a foxy grandpa. So two foxes in the ring. Sonic Fox surprisingly playing RoboCop usually, and then later on Shang Tsung, who I think is also considered like a keep away character, which is weird because I always thought Sonic Fox played more like rushdown, like aggressive characters. They're usually very like aggressive in their playstyle. It's a very like, it's a weird matchup. It's honestly quite entertaining in a way that I would not have expected. Usually like keep away and zoning characters end up being sort of like boring. They can make the game really boring unless they have some kind of fun twist to them. In this case, it was almost like this firefight between these two RoboCops where they're just like trying to outzone each other and almost like catching, like switching up their patterns and trying to play like unpredictably from afar, so that like they start like zoning in a certain way, and then they'll like switch it up a little bit, like throw off the timing, so like throw off the opponent who's like trying to retaliate. Actually quite entertaining and pretty fun, like very tense. Very surprisingly tense matchup with the RoboCops. And then who switched off? I think Foxy Grandpa then switched to Katana. And then I think Sonic Fox, not Grandpa Fox, switched to Shang Tsung after that. But there was one fun RoboCop mirror match that was like actually quite a cool weird little matchup. So thank you for recommending that. Also, Idom's run in the Street Fighter V finals. Yeah, so Idom is like one of the top players in North America. He's been one of the top players in Street Fighter V for forever. And like, man, he fucking went so far, dude. Idom went so far. He made it all the way. Dude, he beat... I was actually watching it. I was a little distracted because I haven't talked to some friends in a while. And after I got back, we were on Discord talking. I was kind of watching it in the back because I knew announcements were happening. And so I lost my train of thought. So I was kind of like watching in the background, but I was watching Idom play Daigo in Loser's Bracket. I could not believe it. It was crazy. It was crazy close. Like, he put up a great show. Idom made it all the way to Grand Finals. Right? Wait, fuck. Who was Grand Final? I was like, again, I was not paying super close attention. Oh, now I have to look it up. Now I feel embarrassed. To SF5. I'll just say results. Results. Yeah, no, it was Idom. Okay. I was right. Idom versus Kawan. It was like, man, this was a crazy top 8. This was wild. Gachikun, Daigo, Kawano, Tokido, Just a Kid, Oil King, Mr. Crimson. Yeah, that's all 8. Like, actually really, really sick. I thought it was fucking super cool to see Just a Kid in top 8. He is a Juri main. Juri, who is not considered a particularly... He's kind of like a mid-tier character. So really cool to see him do like really well against a lot of these players. Like, he made it really far, and he was being a really good sport. He got knocked out I think in the first game of Losers, but like he was a good sport about it, and like he deserves a lot of props definitely for like really pushing his character. Idom went on a fucking tear through Losers. 3-1 Mr. Crimson is one of the best players in the world. From France? Am I right? 3-2'd Daigo. That was hell. It was so close. I cannot fucking believe that. 3-0 Takedo. Like, god damn. God damn. And then 3-1 Gachikun. Like, fuck, dude, he's fucking mad. He fucking wants it. Because this is the almost certainly going to be the last appearance of SF5 on the main stage at EVO. He fucking wanted it. Winner's bracket was Kawano, who's like the prodigy from Japan. 3-0 Takedo, 3-2 Gachikun. Idom. Oh yeah, then they played. Okay, so they played in finals. Lost the first. Idom reset the bracket 1-3-2. Then they play. They go all the way to game 5. It's 2-2. And fucking Kawano makes it again. Kawano is like, I feel like now he's kind of like the undisputed like best player, right? Like he's the best Street Fighter V player. Like he won CPT, he beat Daigo, he won Evo, he beat Idom. Like he was on a war path, but so a lot of people were like kind of down. A lot of people were kind of down on Idom, like, just because he lost. But, like, fuck, dude. He's amazing. Like, there is this thing where, like, we super focus on, like, whoever's the number one, right? But, like, God, even, like, in this incredibly stacked tournament, even just cracking the top 8 is incredible. Like, that you could be so good at this game that has had so much time, like, so much time for these people to master it, that you could even get into the top 8 is like an incredible accomplishment. And for Idom to do so well and to like play his heart out and make it all the way to like second place is like crazy. Like he is a fantastic player. He is really great. So like he definitely deserves his props. I was honestly, you know, I don't usually pick sides with like players. I just want to see like some good gameplay. I would have been happy with either of them winning. If Idom won, that would have been sick for North America. But hey, fucking Kawano has worked his ass off, and it's really cool that like such a young guy. Jesus, is he as young as me? How fucking old is Kawano? Let's see. How old is he? Years. Okay, but how old is he? Why doesn't it say how old he is? Kawano, SF5. Oh, Kawano age. There we go. 23. He's 3 years older than me. He's about 3 years older than me. And he's killing it, right? Like, I do not mind at all. Like, fucking good for him. Super cool. Really cool. Really cool. So now that we've just kind of gotten those kind of general things out of the way, fuck, there was a lot of announcements at this Evo, and I mean, it's where the announcements happen. I gotta take a drinky drink. Okay, I'll go sort of in order. So for Skullgirls, Mary was announced. That's really cool. Mary is literally the titular Skullgirl, and she's sort of been, well, she's technically been in the game since launch. She's like the arcade boss, and she's always been one of those characters who, like, it would be really cool to have her playable. She has a really cool aesthetic with this like skeleton maid thing, and she's got all of these bones that she like controls and levitates and throws at you and stuff like that, and she summons like skeletons with They're like gangster skeletons with Tommy guns, and sends these like giant shadow people after you in her boss fight. Like really cool aesthetics, but just never implemented. I guess they wanted to keep her, I don't know, they had other concepts they wanted to do. But it was kind of a no-brainer for her to get in, and she was officially announced. Second was the Melty Blood system updates. I do not feel confident enough in, like, really, like, making a comment on how good or bad these are. It was honestly a lot of technical stuff, and I don't know the game well enough to... A lot of it kind of went over my head of, like, well, shield blowback attack is invincible on this, but not after in the air. And I'm like, oh, I don't know how this applies or exactly what all this entails. But hey, if they're good, I saw people liking the changes. Also, apparently it's getting, what was it? It's getting, it's getting... Where is it? It got some other features, right? Major update. Yada, yada, yada. Online multiplayer ranking and replay mode. So, yes, some functionality updates, quality of life updates. So cool. Congrats, Melty guys. Melty fellas. Melty felties. Okay, next up. Holy shit, I woke up on, like, Saturday morning, I'm pretty sure. Saturday morning, I looked at my phone. No, it was Friday evening, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Friday evening. Kat and I were staying over at our friend's house, and we would all drive down to the convention. So Kat and I were on the couch. I look at my phone, and I see... I do not believe my eyes. Dragonball FIghterz is getting rollback. Bruh. This is like dreams come true type shit, dude. This is borderline unheard of for something like this to happen. So, if you're just not familiar with this stuff, all you need to know is, you probably know Dragonball FIghterz. Dragonball FIghterz launched with something called delay-based netcode. Delay-based netcode is basically when two players are connecting to each other, because fighting games run peer-to-peer. They do not use servers for the actual gameplay. They'll use servers for, like, matchmaking and stuff, but not for gameplay. That's like you're connecting directly to your opponent. Delay-based netcode basically means that when there is a... when your connection to the other player... When the connection between the two players, basically your ping goes up, it introduces input delay to both players. So one person having shitty internet, it doesn't matter how good yours is. If one person has shitty internet, you're both going to be feeling it. If the more desyncs happen, basically. It sucks, and especially for fighting games, which is a genre where there are very precise inputs, and you kind of need good reaction timing if you want to play more competitively. It just feels like ass, honestly, and especially if things get really messy, with the ping, like there can just be full on like the screen freezing because it literally has to introduce so much delay that it actually just has to pause the game because the connection's so bad. Like, not good. Very, very old and outdated. That new hotness is called rollback. It's new hotness, but it's existed since like 2013 at least. Rollback is basically, it's a little complex, but it's essentially a much better architecture for online games that are peer-to-peer. If it's like one-to-one person, probably wouldn't work that well for like team games, but it's a much better form of netcode, and people have been rallying for it. Essentially what it does is that if one player desyncs, the game is like, oh, so if two people are playing and one of them, they get a lag spike, the game will say, oh, whatever was the last thing they were doing, we're going to show the other player them still doing that. So if they're walking forward, the other player is going to see them keep walking forward for however many frames until you like sync back up, the two of you. Then if it turns out that, you know, the game, it's basically like the game plays on like the honor system. So they're like, we'll just assume that they were still walking for the next like 5 frames, which is how long they desynced for. If it turns out that on like the second frame they actually input a jump, then as soon as you resync, the other player is going to see that their opponent has jumped. But the first couple frames will get cut off because it's basically like, oh shit, I gotta correct what you're seeing. Basically, what it means is that on your end, you will not suffer any fluctuation in delay, which means that your combo, like if you're comboing someone, the timing is not going to change, which is one of the really fucky things with delay-based netcode, is that the timing of your combo can literally change because of the delay, making some combos actually impossible in certain cases. Because of how tight the timing can be. However, on rollback, you are never affected. Your character is never affected. The opponent will be affected. You're basically just going to be seeing what they are actually doing. The game will, if there's lag, once you both like sync back up and once they catch back up to your connection, you will just see what they are actually doing at the present moment. And in most cases, the desyncs are so minute that you don't even notice them. So there's tons of desyncs that happen, but it was like, oh, they desynced in the middle of like an attack animation. You don't even notice. You don't even notice that there was like a desync, and the game never has to like add input delay randomly when your opponent's doing something. In the worst cases, of course, you'll get like the opponent will be teleporting around basically on your end because it's like, oh shit, they're there. Oh wait, they're actually here. Oh wait, they're actually here. But that's it. I mean, at a certain point, a bad connection is just a bad connection. Rollback is obviously it can be done poorly, but rollback is really good. It can be done really well. It has completely reinvigorated certain games. Which is why it's so cool that Dragonball FIghterz is getting it, because a lot of people's biggest complaints with that game is just, well, besides the balance, but people are always going to bitch about balance, is the goddamn delay. The delay fluctuations, especially for such like a chaotic game as FIghterz. Patching in rollback is so cool. And you might be asking, well, okay, well, why doesn't everyone do rollback? The reason for that is because, well, number one, a lot of Japanese developers are very obstinate and they are very hesitant about accepting things that they don't develop themselves. Second of all, it's actually it's very expensive upfront cost to do that, because you need to like get people who know how to do it. It's like you need to like know how to implement that. And the game, because essentially the way that the game accomplishes that like correction when there's like a desync, is by basically like making save states on every single frame, which is can be very CPU intensive, meaning that the games kind of have to be built like from the ground up, or at least very early on, like Strive. They have to be built for like making room for that CPU usage. Mortal Kombat X launched with delay-based netcode, and then they got so many complaints about it that they decided to actually put in the effort and hire some people to who knew how to implement rollback, to come in, learn how the engine worked, and then basically rip everything out and put and remake it with rollback. And it took them like 8 months and a fuck ton of time and money, like the work and money and energy. It was very expensive, but that upfront investment means that all of their games since MKX have played wonderfully online. They've played just fantastic online, assuming you're using a wired connection and all that. the reason, okay, so you might have seen, for instance, Plus R. You know, who talks about Plus R? I don't know anyone like that. The reason you might have seen games like Plus R get rollback, or older games like you'll play on Fightcade, those are all running on rollback. The reason they can do that is because older games and 2D sprite-based games are just generally less CPU intensive, which means that they can it's kind of easier to sort of like brute force rollback on top of those games. Obviously, you need to be good at it, and there's definitely like cases where it can be done poorly, but it's not as much of a huge challenge as doing it with something that's like full 3D, because that takes up a lot of CPU space or CPU usage. That's why MKX was so expensive for them to do, and why you rarely see developers do it now, because it's such a big time investment. You got to bring people in, you got to train them in your engine, then you have to give them the time to actually implement this stuff. And a lot of companies do not see the value in that. So the fact that Dragonball FIghterz is being patched with rollback is actually very impressive. Excuse me. Like, I say it's like a what dreams are made of type thing, because you look at that game and it's like, it's all 3D. It's so rare. I can't think of any other example where an actual like full 3D fighting game got a rollback update, where they actually switched from delay to rollback. That was not MKX. Like, that's literally the only one I can think of. Which means like, and it's all the more surprising because FIghterz is in like, it's basically done. Like, the game is basically like, I think they said no more new characters. I think they might have said like a balance update is coming or something, but like content wise, like the game is complete. It's been out since like 2018 or something. Like, it's run its course in terms of content. It's a complete game, and they could have easily, and what everyone kind of expected was for them to just leave the game as it is, release, Dragonball FIghterz 2. And the fact that they actually went through and patched it with rollback means a couple things. Number one, they spent a lot of time. They actually did invest a lot of time into this, time and money, which is admirable, honestly, for something just basic functionality. That's very admirable for them to do. That's very pro-consumer. So their game's playable online. It also means they got that rollback tech now. They've got rollback technology now. They can now, Bandai Namco games in the future will almost assuredly have rollback. Like, Dragon Ball FighterZ 2, I'm assuming is going to be made with either the same or very similar engine. And 100% like confirmed, essentially. Not like literally officially confirmed, but I don't even need to make a bet because I will win it. That FighterZ 2 will have rollback from the start. From the jump, it's going to have rollback. And I'm going to put my money down and say that Tekken 8 will also have rollback at launch. Tekken 7 maybe 3, but Tekken 8 is infinite. I don't know. I don't even know what Tekken 7 is 3 was supposed to mean, Harada. Tekken 7. What, are you stupid? You don't know what that means? Oh god. If you don't know what that's referencing, good. It'll just fucking hurt your brain. Tekken 7 is 3. Yeah, so honestly fantastic. I'm actually everyone who's playing FighterZ or owns it, very happy for you guys. It's going to be way more playable online. It's going to be great. And the great thing about rollback, so here's the thing. The real gift of rollback like, yeah, it is that the game is now much more playable online, but really, what it means is that any game with rollback will last forever. It'll live forever. Because with rollback makes so many more connections playable. Like, I can go on Plus R right now, and up to the limit is about 250 ping. Beyond that, and it gets really unplayable. 250 is not great. I would not like that at all. But I could if I needed to, right? I could actually play a game on like 250 ping in Plus R, and it could be playable. Like, it wouldn't be great, but it could work. Dude, with delay, if you're over like 100 ping, you're fucked, you know? With delay-based netcode. And you know what that means is that, like, if you go online and there's like, let's say 100 people online, just for example's sake. There's like 100 people online. You're playing a game with delay-based netcode with shitty online. There's 100 people online, but really, the amount of people you can actually play is maybe, 20, 15? And like, yeah, that might be a decent number, but if you're trying to get into a game, how many of those people are going to be around your skill level? How many people, are you going to just run through and see the same names a bunch, which can be fun, but like maybe you want to play against a variety of different characters. Having more people to play against is always better. And what rollback does is it makes so many more connections playable that now, oh shit, I can actually play, like, if there's 100 players online, I can actually play all of them, or at least most of them. Let's say like 90% of them. And that's incredible, because it means that people from around the world can actually play the game with each other and basically be playing the real game. Not like the shitty, like fucking, people used to make before SF5 got like a rollback, or sorry, not a rollback patch. It got like its like netcode kind of upgraded. People used to make, they might still even do this, different tier lists for tournament versus online. There are characters who were better online than they were in person because of the effects that the netcode had on the game. You don't have to do that shit when you have like good rollback. You don't have to do that anymore. So like, that was what was so great about when Plus R got rollback, because like the game has like at peak hours it'll get maybe 200 players. Most people would scoff at that, like, ugh, oh god, dead game. But dude, 200 players, 250 players, that's more than enough. Just jump in a lobby and you're almost assuredly you'll have someone to play with. And it has like that like people will always be able to play this game. Even if the servers go offline, they'll always be able to play peer-to-peer. It will never die. You'll always be able to enjoy that game with people around the world. Like, that's what's wonderful about having functioning netcode, like rollback does. And as almost like a parting gift to the FIghterz players, that's wonderful. It really is. And, hey, speaking of, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. It did not get rollback announced. The rollback was announced forever ago, but it's been like, okay, where's the update, guys? It is coming. I believe it literally has it right now. That's another game people were very passionate about, but then, once the player base moved on, the player base is shrinking, not enough people to play with, the online is bad. Ooh, you kind of got to it's like a Discord fighter. People act like having to go to a fucking Discord to play a game online is not, like, insane. People act like that's, like, a reasonable thing to be expected of like, consumers. Dude, no. I do not want to do that. That's ridiculous. You don't have to do that anymore. Guess what? I don't know how many people are going to play Persona 4 Ultimax, but there will be enough people online that you will probably be able to actually get some games going, hopefully somewhat regularly. And hey, more rollback news. Samurai Showdown 2019 also getting rollback. Let's fucking go. Samurai Showdown 2019 is a very tragic case because, so for those unaware, Samurai Showdown was a mostly forgotten, honestly, series of fighting games by SNK from the 90s. It's as it implies, it's a like samurai themed fighting game with all sorts of like Japanese swordsmen, kind of, you know, like I guess medieval Japan type characters, and with like a, you know, that kind of like fantasy-ish spin, like medieval fantasy Japan, sort of like semi-based in reality, but there's like fucking sorcerers and shit. And it's a really cool game. It's a very cool style. It's like a very slow, neutral focused, like high damage game where like you make one mistake and you lose 40% of your health. It's like very brutal, like samurai battles is what it's trying to emulate. Like, oh, you misstepped and I fucking hit you with the hard slash, and you lose a ton of health, and it's like, poof, like you feel it, and it's really like gory and shit. And it's really cool, and it's something I'm interested in playing. Like, I think it looks cool. I think the characters look cool. It's honestly, I'm still getting character updates as far as I'm aware. Like, they get it every so often. They'll get a new character in that game every so often. But it has delay-based and really bad delay-based netcode, too. And it was fine within the hardcore community when it released in 2019 because people will get together and they'll play it in person. Well, you know, something happened in the world. And can't do that anymore. So SamSho just fucking died. It was like a tragic case of a game that actually did pretty well by the standards of like SNK. This is pre-KOF 15, but after 14, which kind of got them back in the game. But like for a reboot of a franchise that most people did not know about, to be honest, like, I'm sorry, SamSho heads in the audience, but most people were not familiar with it. Like, if I go up to any random gamer on the street, they will probably not have heard of Samurai Showdown, at least before the 2019 one, because the reboot did pretty well for like a reboot of a fairly not really talked about series. Performed pretty well, and a lot of people, the people who liked it, really liked it. So there's like potential there. Like, there's something very interesting and unique in the game. And it just got fucking murdered by COVID, by just not being able to play it online. Now it's getting rollback. So I would say it's probably something that if you're curious and you like playing, you know, fighting games online, definitely something that would at least bear checking out. I think it's a really cool looking game. If we're going to keep it rolling on the SNK train, and speaking of Samurai Showdown, they announced the new DLC team. The final one of the first season, and it is Team Samurai, which is Haomaru, the main character from SamSho, Nakaruru, and Darly Dagger, I believe. Darly Dagger. Which was honestly pretty expected. It was not mind-blowing to see, but it was pretty cool. SNK... KOF 15 has always been like an SNK crossover game, just tons and tons of like lots of original characters too, but a lot of SNK classics. Everyone except, wait, was there a, okay, so Nakaruru, the board girl, she's got the bird, She got the bird. She was in KOF 14. I'm not sure if I remember. Was there another SamSho character in KOF? Is Tojo isn't I have to double check now. Hang on. KOF Samurai Showdown. I have to like double check. Because I feel like there's like maybe like one. Yada yada yada. Yada yada yada. Crossover characters. Oh geez. Oh goodness, this is a big chart. What the fuck? There's a gigantic chart of crossover characters in... What is this? The SNK... Why is the SNK wiki? Why is it laid out like this? Crossover characters. Oh, well, wait, these are from other games. Oh yeah, I forgot Biken. Oh yeah, Biken and the Warden from For Honor are in SamSho 2019. Yeah, so... Anyway, yeah, whatever. Doesn't really matter too much what the answer to my question was. It's cool to have them in. It's good to see them. It's good to see them. Darlie is like one of the more popular characters from the new entry. And, it's cool. It's nice to see some samurai. They had a nice little graphic where they had, what was it? Ryo, Terry, Kyo, and Haomaru all side by side, and it was like 4 SNK heroes unite in one game, which is cool that like they're all like actually in the same game, in an actual like KOF game. You got the Art of Fighting, Fatal Fury, King of Fighters, and Samurai Showdown protagonists all in one game, which is pretty fun. So that was generally to be expected. Well, I say to be expected. It was something that's like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like, if you told me, hey, there's going to be a Team Samurai Showdown in 15, I'd be like, oh, yeah, of course. I honestly could have even picked those characters to be in there. What I could not have predicted was the announcement of a new Garou game. So, for those unaware, SNK put out a game in... Oh, geez, what year was it? Oh, please load. It was it past 2000? No, 1999. It was kind of close. Called Garou Mark of the Wolves. So it is... Garou Mark of the Wolves is essentially the 8th Fatal Fury game. And it was kind of a victim of the SNK oversaturation bankruptcy. Fatal Fury in general was, where SNK was just making way too many goddamn fighting games in the 90s. Just way too much. Just way too much. And then they went bankrupt because they, like, oversaturated their own market and they, like, couldn't keep up with... I just don't think they could keep up with the growing standard for games. Because they were just putting out arcade games, basically, on consoles. So they almost went bankrupt. That's why they're now SNK Playmore, because they had to merge. So in Japan, it's called Fatal Fury Mark of the Wolves. For some reason outside, it's called Garou Mark of the Wolves. Now, Garou means wolf in Japanese. So it's Wolf, Mark of the Wolves. It's like... Okay. it's a very well remembered game. As well, for one being like the final Fatal Fury game for the longest time until now, I guess. It has a great. It has a really cool like roster. It's where Rock comes from. It's that sick redesign for Terry where he's got like the bomber jacket and he's got his hair down and everything, and he looks super cool. It's like a great way to update the character. It's where Rock comes from, where B. Jenny comes from. Kim's in it. It's like Kim Jae-hoon, not Kim Kap-won. Tizok, who's now Dinosaur King, has a guy named Butt, Kushnud Butt. Just some really cool characters. And some like, I'm not like super certain of the gameplay. I don't know like all of the like exactly what makes it super distinct, but it's very well remembered. It's very well remembered. And it just kind of been, I mean, geez, it's been 1999. It's been 23 years since a Fatal Fury game. Like, it's been a while for one of SNK's, like, original titles, right? So when they just pull back and they show, like, some key art of, like, Rock standing in front of, like, a city, like, at night, like, on a city street. And it just says, like, what did they say? Like, the only thing that they said was a new Fatal Fury / Garou game has been greenlit. That's all they said. That's enough. That's like, holy crap. That's super sick. Yeah, SNK's back in the game. Like, they're back in the game. They're making... Excuse me. They're making fighting games again. And good ones, too. Like, I have not been playing a lot of 15. What I've heard from... 15 is like the rare new fighting game where the old players and the new players both fucking love it. Like, all the old KOF players love 15. I've seen so much positive stuff about that game. And honestly, I think it's really fun to watch. It's very fast-paced. It has kind of a balance between, like, it's not always high damage, but if you've got resources, it's really high damage. But you've also, because you've got multiple characters, it isn't, like, super touch of deathy, because you've got, like, you've got to burn through 3 life bars if you're going to win. It's got just, like, a really nice balance. And then also, it's got, like, the built-in kind of seesaw effect of the more rounds you've lost, the more bars of meter you can have at once, which gives you even bigger, crazier combos. It's got a really nice, just, like, spectator experience. Like, very simple, like, that dude's got a lot of bar. He's dangerous, kind of thing. Very fun game to watch, in my opinion. SamSho, also, like, a fun game to watch. And, like, if we're gonna get another, like, we're going to get, like, a Garou game, I'm assuming in 3D, in this same art style, which has been working pretty well. Like, the current SNK style, the modern style, post, like, SamSho 2019, is a very nice, like, it doesn't have the same charm as the 2D sprite art, but if you're going to be making, like, a 3D game, this is, like, they've landed on a pretty good kind of stylization, where it isn't, like, super, anime, kind of like how, Arxis games are, but it isn't that, like, cartoony, like, Street Fighter V type style. It's hard to describe. Like, it's got some, like, thick outlines, and the characters have these kind of soft, sort of, like, anime look to them. But there's all these, like, crazy particle effects, and the characters are, like, just kind of cartoonish enough that they kind of pop out. Very, like, a very nice art style. for what they've going, and recognizable, like not generic looking. Like SamSho and KOF 15 have like a real look to them, as opposed to like KOF 14, which just 14, honestly, 14's visuals just barely made it over the finish line. Like it's just barely enough. Yeah, so that's super hype. I'm very excited. Excited is maybe not the... I'm super interested. I'm very intrigued. Maybe if I go and play some Garou, I will be more excited, but yeah. It's really cool. A lot of people were very happy about that, and I have faith now as like in SNK as a developer. Like, they've been doing some good stuff so far. And of course it's going to have good rollback, like 15. Oh, and then also as a bonus, they just kind of randomly said, oh yeah, also Kim and Shingo are going to be coming to 15. Not necessarily as like a team. They only showed off 2 characters, so not even enough for a complete team. They just said, hey, here's concept art of Kim and Shingo. They're happening. It's cool. It would be fun, honestly, to have them on one team, like some sort of weird, like, Team Justice or something like that. Like Kim is all into his justice thing, and Shingo. Oh, that would be funny. Like, Kim is looking for, like, oh, dude, you know who they should bring back? Who's the girl with the froggy t-shirt from 2002? Oh, what's her name? I gotta look this up, because she's Kim's student, right? I gotta fucking find her name. She has she's like Kim's student who like takes after him, and she's like super into being like, she wants to be like a superhero. She's like very Kamen Rider inspired. Where is she? She's like a stance character. Mei-Lee Jinju. Yeah, she's like a cool stance character where she's super like chuny, like she wears goggles on her head and like a scarf, and she has like what is it called, like hero stance or something like that. She has like normal stance and hero stance, where she goes into these 2 different stances that change her moveset. And she's, what her deal was that she's like inspired by Kim, right? Mei-Lee has a strong, like Kim, Mei-Lee has a strong sense of justice and will punish any evil being she encounters. Like she's super into the Kim like justice thing. So it would actually be really funny to have like the 3 of them on one team. Like Kim is trying to assemble like he's done like maybe like Chang and Choi are like reformed or whatever, like that's the direction that they're going, or like they've tricked him into that they've reformed, something like that. And so he's like, well, my work with them is done. I am going to like put together like a crime fighting martial arts team, and the only people he can find are fucking like fanboy Shingo and fanboy Mei-Lee. And they're like this funny, like, that would be a really funny dynamic. Like Kim is this super stoic leader, and Shingo's this like goofball who's like way too into being like Kyo and being like the noble martial artist. And Mei-Lee is this, just takes herself way too seriously, but she's like really like peppy and like upbeat. That would be like a fun dynamic for a team, and just call them like Team Justice. Yeah, that would be great. That's I don't know who they're gonna put him on a team with, but if you had to, that would actually be a fun team in my eyes. I think that was it for the SNK announcements. Oh yeah, also the crossplay thing, so like more functionality announcements. Moving on to, I guess, some of the bigger names, or the bigger hitters. Tekken 8, I believe, was teased. So, excuse me, this was kind of a little weird. Basically what happened... excuse me. Basically what happened was they played a trailer for the Tekken 7 or the Tekken World Tour for Tekken 7. And then at the very end, they cut to Kazuya's ending from Tekken 1 where he throws Heihachi off the cliff and then the infamous like turn and do the creepy smile at the camera. And then as he smiles, it like cuts to a brand new Kazuya smirking evilly at the camera like, oh shit. And then it just says, get ready. So not quite what I was expecting, but it was basically what I thought they were just going to flash like 8 on the screen. So that's not what happened. Honestly, the Tekken 8 announcement, now that they've done this, is almost for sure going to happen during the Tekken World Tour. They probably want to get some eyes on it, and it's just like, well, where else would you do it? I'm not sure when the dates are going to be, but yeah, there I would expect like a full cinematic trailer, like an actual full like launch trailer, and probably even a release date. Honestly, I would not be surprised if there was also a release date. They've almost assuredly been working on this for a couple of years at this point. So that was neat, and then you immediately cut to the commentator's booth, and Steve is fucking doing the command grab on Rip. That was funny. And then like randomly Harada walks up, like points to the camera, and then walks away. Next, I guess I'll jump into this first before we get into the Strive stuff, because in the order it happened. So, Street Fighter 6, at the end of the tournament, after the whole ceremony and everything like that, they threw it to a trailer, and just like I predicted, it was a double reveal, and it was a new character and a returning character, just like I said they would do. So the new character was teased at the end of the launch, or the not the launch trailer, but the reveal trailer, was Kimberly. So they were obviously setting her up to be like, I thought she was maybe going to get the first trailer, but I guess not. I think I even said that after like, I thought she was going to get the first trailer, and then they showed Guile off next, and I was like, okay, maybe they'll probably do the returning character. So I was expecting like Cammy or Ken. But no. Kimberly. So Kimberly was probably the design. This is just further confirmation about the leaks and the leak designs and all that. Hers was the like just purely going visually, hers was the design that I was probably the least excited about. Just like not something that especially appealed to me and like what I find cool. She's like kind of like a hippity hoppity ninja, I guess. She has a Walkman, which is kind of funny. And seeing her gameplay, or just like, you know, what they showed off of it in the trailer, gameplay-wise, she definitely does look really cool. She actually does look interesting. She's kind of almost like... I mean, Ibuki's had 3 games. Ibuki's had 3 games. They gotta make way for another ninja, alright? So Kimberly is kind of like the new ninja, and I think some of her stuff actually looks pretty cool. I took down some notes of some of the stuff that I noticed from her trailer. So number 1, yeah, she's pulling off like a ninja aesthetic. She has this kind of like diagonal moving like hurricane kick type move, which seems like a combo filler. She has like a teleport that she shows off like one time. She like disappears in like a cloud of like spray paint, which is fun. It's like a fun way of incorporating the game's kind of aesthetics. Only showed it off once. Street Fighter, and it's for her to go through Luke's fireball, and it made me realize that from what we've seen so far, SF6 does not seem to be leaning very hard into the anti-fireball tools as nearly as much as 5 did. It felt like 5, like so many characters had tools to just nullify projectiles. Uh, which led to a lot of projectiles in 5 coming off feeling like not super strong, especially in more matchups than maybe they needed to. 6 does not appear to be doing that. However, if anyone's gonna have like the move that lets them like go through fireballs or projectiles in general, it's gonna be the ninja character. So like whatever, that's like her thing. That's like a cool thing to do. Some interesting looking moves from what they showed off. She has a command run, which is neat. It has to be a command run because I was actually watching it and I like had to pause it again to look at it, and I went through this whole thing where I'm like, oh, you can see there's this sequence where she does like 2 normals that like knock Luke backwards into the air, and she immediately goes from like the normal into this like running animation, and it doesn't have the same kind of like green paint splash effect as the kind of like what is like the how would I even describe it? The like dash canceling is just like a mechanic you could do in this game off of like specific moves, but when you do it like the system mechanic, when you use the system mechanic of dash canceling, you get that like green paint splash effect. She didn't have that. She just had this kind of like speed line kind of like distortion effect behind her, like she's moving fast. So I was like, oh, it's got to be a command run, and then I immediately saw like a few clips later that she has like an EX version of it, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, so that's just confirmation of that. So that's cool. I'm not super into like command run characters, but it is like a fun thing to see. Which looks like she has some kind of follow-ups after it. I'm not sure. I'm assuming she has some kind of follow-up. Usually command runs will have follow-ups you can do out of them. Or maybe it'll just be like she can do it and she has a lot of moves that will like knock the opponent away and then she can run after them. Like almost like a corner carry character. Like she can knock you away and then command run forward and then like juggle you in the corner. She has a mid-air command grab, which seems very specific. I thought it was just like a regular grab, but no, there's like an EX version that she shows off later, which is interesting. I don't know if she has a grounded version of it, but they didn't show it off. Having specifically like a mid-air command grab and not having like a grounded one is kind of rare, but it's interesting. And it looks like she can combo into it, so it could be like a command, like a combo ender. The EX version actually gives her like a ground bounce that she can combo after, which is really cool. So maybe you can use it to like finish a combo, or you can spend a bar to extend one. That's an interesting. I feel like that's pretty cool. As like a combo for like some interesting combo theory. She might also be a character who kind of wants to goad you into jumping. Usually command grabs are like a very rock, paper, scissors type relationship where they are there to force the opponent to make decisions because they are unblockable. So like most grapplers have some form of, or a lot of grapplers will have, their grounded grab and then some form of anti-air grab. And it's like, okay, they're going to mix you up between which one they're going to pressure with, or they're going to like goad you into jumping to dodge the grounded one, but they're actually doing the anti-air one, like Potemkin and Guilty Gear. So that could be like an interesting thing, like a character who wants you to like jump over her or something, and then she just leaps up and command grabs you. She has this fun little leaping kick move that she does, where she just kind of bounds forward and does like a downward kick, and it looks like she can do follow-ups after it. And there's like an EX version where she does. Oh yeah, no. So she does an EX version, and then once she's in the air, she does an EX dive kick. So maybe you can use that. Maybe it's like it could be a case where you can use the leaping kick on the ground or in the air, and when you use it in the air, it's a dive kick. Not sure. But cool. Actually, it does look like an interesting. She actually does look cool. Design-wise, still not like the most appealing thing to me, but I want to see that old guy JP. But definitely like not a bad reveal at all. Then after that, they did a very like, here comes Daredevil type thing with revealing, hey, there's another character here, and it's Juri. Honestly surprised that they did not go with like one of the World Warriors. Excuse me. Like, Juri got revealed before Ken, before Cammy, before what's God's not in. And honestly, just any of the other Street Fighter 2 era characters. For any of them, Juri. Okay, that's kind of that subverted my expectations in a pleasant way. And yeah, her design still looks great. I mean, it looked great in concept art. Looks great here. This might be like my favorite version of her design, as like a good balance between sort of like her 4 design that's very like martial arts inspired, and her 5 design that's a lot more just like latex sex appeal inspired. This is a nice balance between both of them, with her kind of like tech wear look, but with that same like the baggy pants and the spider themed like top is really, I like that a lot. I like that look a lot for her. She looks really good. She looks great. Animation wise, I think she has some great. Let me look at her. If I just like double check. Oh yeah, also she showed off a new stage. Animation wise, her like kind of like black and white kind of like ink brush effects still look great. Like they did in 5. I think they look a lot. They look better here just because of how much more. I guess 6's like visual style is kind of leaning into that kind of messy, very, very like kinetic particle effects with like big, not really like a hit spark, but those big hit effects with like the dust or the sweat or whatever it is. I couldn't say. If I had to guess, I would say that they're probably going to retain most of her Street Fighter V identity gameplay-wise, just like looking at her moveset. If you aren't aware, so when Juri first debuted in 4, she had she's kind of like an addition to the classic fighting game switcheroo, where they make like a very appealing waifu character, and then they give her a very unorthodox, weird moveset. So, Juri is what's known as a negative edge character in Street Fighter 4. Negative edge is when an action happens when you release a button, rather than when you press the button. So, if you know Guilty Gear, Zato is a negative edge character, because when he presses he has the summon, he has the character he summons, Eddie the Shadow. When you press a button, and like the Shadow Eddie has all of his own like whole moveset. When you press the button, an attack button, Zato will do an attack. But when you release the button, Eddie will do the corresponding attack. So Juri worked in a similar way, where you had to release buttons to make certain things happen, or to make certain moves come out, which led to I'm not super familiar with 4 or her in it, but basically it's like a weird, it's not like like physically it's not a thing that most people are used to doing in games, where you do a thing like you hit a sequence of buttons, and some of them you hold down, and then after other buttons you release the one that you were holding down so that the move comes out. It's sort of awkward. You can definitely, like, with some practice, you can kind of like rewire your brain to get used to it, but a lot of people don't even want to bother with it. I have not wanted to bother with it. It's also, I haven't even had that many chances to try and bother with it. If that's how you say that. Because there's just not many negative edge characters in fighting games. Like, you might see a move here or there that has that property, but like Happy Chaos's bullets, he shoots technically when you release heavy slash rather than when you press it. It doesn't show up a ton just because most players find it very weird and awkward. In 5, they took out her negative edge stuff and they basically replaced it with a system where she has to essentially prep her specials. So she has what? I'm trying to remember exactly what her like command list is in 5. Basically, the way it works is that she has like a special move, and the light, medium, and heavy versions do not. You have to like prep them before you can use them. They're each, the light, medium, and heavy versions are all different. They're all different attacks, but you can't use them instantly. Essentially, like if I want to do the light version of that move, and there's only like one of this move that works like this, by the way. This is like a specific move that a lot of her tool set and like her combos revolve around. You have to do like, I think it's quarter circle forward. You have to do like quarter circle forward light kick, and she'll do like an upwards kick. And then after that, she'll have basically prepped the real quote unquote version of that special. So after you've got it prepped, the next time you hit quarter circle forward kick, she'll do like her little, what is it, a projectile, I think, that she'll like throw across the floor. And then she has to prep the medium, light, medium, and heavy versions individually. And they're all always like the prep anim. It's always like an upwards kick. It's always the same one. And then the next time you hit it, once you've got it stocked, essentially, you can use that. I don't know if that explains it very clearly, but that's essentially, if you watch like just a quick gameplay of her, you'll see how it works. So basically, like gating off powerful moves behind having to kind of prep them a bit. That's sort of like the idea behind her gameplay, rather than the negative edge thing where it's more of like an execution deal where you have to be able to just have the muscle memory to like hold down buttons and not immediately release them and stuff like that. If I would guess, I would say that they probably keep her Street Fighter V design. I did see, you can see a few cases, a few shots where she's using that upwards kicking move that is like her prep attack. But she looks like she gets some new stuff. So she can do like an aerial kind of like just like a break dance in the air, which is pretty funny. And she can combo off of it from a jump in. That's actually cool. Yeah, she does like a jump-in kick, and then into this little aerial breakdance, and it actually sucks the opponent upwards, and then kicks them upwards after she's done, and then she lands early enough that she can actually get a juggle off of it. That's quite cool. Into, it looks like, no, the super animation's different. She's got like a neat looking kind of like install move where she, I'm assuming just lets her combo more stuff, kind of like in Street Fighter V. Her level 3 is wild. So here's the thing. In Street Fighter 4, Juri had a really cool, I think it was one of her ultras. I actually forget. But basically, it was like she did this whole sequence where she like kicks you up and then she picks you up with her foot and then like hangs you down, like hangs you over with her foot and like mocks you and then like kicks you away. And then in 5, like it's a really good animation. In like really well choreographed sequence. In 5, it's just a really lame, like there's a zoom in thing, but then it pulls out and then she just like, she kicks a big energy wave at you, and it's kind of lame. Looks like that's, if I had to guess, that's probably going to be her level 1 now. Just like a straight, just damage super. Level 2 is probably the install that she gets from, I believe it was her V-Trigger, if I'm remembering correctly. And her level 3 is like they're bringing back that big cinematic one where she talks shit to you and like smashes you into the ground. And then, oh my god, this is so, oh my god. Picks you up by the chin with her foot. Like strokes your face and then kicks you away like you're garbage. And then her victory animation is fucking, she pulls out her phone and takes a picture of you and then sits on her on your like collapsed body. She sits down on top of you and like posts it to social media. It's like they knew what they were doing. They knew who likes this character. Yeah, but she looks great. Juri has a very, very big personality, I guess I'll say. And that's not even like an innuendo. Like, she literally is just a very... She's really out there. Like, she's crazy. She's crazy. And... they're retaining a lot of that in her, just her regular animations in combat, in her victory poses, and like all of her voice lines, just like talking shit to you. Yeah, and oh, this really nice looking, I've been paying attention to Juri this whole time, but this really nice looking stage that they've also debuted. It looks like a China stage. I'd imagine that in like the story mode, this is probably, because they said it's going to be like the world tour mode, because they said you're going to go around the world. I imagine that this is when you actually go to China to meet Chun-Li, pretty sure. Yeah, just really nice, like at a Chinese restaurant. There's some really gorgeous buildings in the background. Might be Hong Kong, actually, now that I think about it. But I'm not sure. There's just like people eating just while this crazy fight is happening. There's like, is that a lady playing like an instrument? It takes place at night. There's a bunch of lanterns around. There's a big statue of like a dragon turtle that's like spewing water. Really nice looking stage, like a lot of layers going on to all the different levels of the city. Different like layers of just like buildings in the foreground and background and the statue with like various levels of light. It gets darker the further down you kind of look, or the further in you look, but there's it almost looks like there's like the moon is, I think, implied to be in the background because there's like a white glow. Just really nice stage now that I'm actually looking at it. Yeah, so looks good. Everything about this game looks good. Everything about this game looks good. I am just very pleased with the direction that SF6 is going, and it makes me encouraged. Yeah, it's encouraging. It's very nice. I really enjoy the positive energy surrounding this game. It's so nice just to have a game where it's like everyone just feels good about it and everyone's excited to hear news. Excuse me. Like, and it's not even like a strive situation where it was like, oh, is this gonna work out mechanically? Is, you know, the UI look bad? With this, it's like, damn, everyone's like, wow, this looks fun. This looks good. I really like the pacing, it looks like, of the fights. And I think a lot of it just has to do with like the hit stop. There's some just really nice hit stop with like all these big sparkly effects. Like, that was one of the things I've heard complained about with Street Fighter V, is that like outside of crush counters, there isn't a ton of like visual reward for getting a hit. This game, holy crap, dude, you get like a light and it's like like, I'm trying to see if there's like any like moments where they hit just like a light move. Like, that looks like a medium kick. That looks like a command normal. Yeah, like just like some nice like meaty hits. Not meaty in like a fighting game sense, but just meaty visually, just like heavy impact moves. Looks great. And finally, the Strive. I was really shocked that they announced this at the beginning of the Strive Top 8. Bridget. Of all characters, Bridget. I was for sure. I can never tell with the Strive announcements. Like, I thought I knew for sure what the first season of characters was, and they said Baiken Testament. I was like, what the fuck? Was not expecting that. I thought Sin was for sure going to be the first character of season 2. He's got his full model and, everything. Nope, it's Bridget of all characters. And interesting. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. Geez, where should I begin? Well, Bridget has a character has always been very popular in Japan. Really top of the like they did a bunch of they've done a couple like character popularity polls. Bridget is routinely in the top 3 and I think placed like number 1 in the most recent one they did. I was like, holy crap. In Japan, outside of Japan, it's like Slayer, Johnny, of characters who are not in the game yet, like Slayer, Johnny, Dizzy, those characters basically, like the fan favorites outside of Japan, I guess. But Bridget's always been big in Japan for whatever reason, and so it sort of made sense. Like, okay, so this is for the Japanese audience, but I like Bridget, and there's some kind of interesting. I guess to get it out of the way, first of all, for people who aren't aware. Bridget has had some quote-unquote character development since the last time she appeared. Now you say she. I guess okay. So Bridget's deal was the way Bridget came about in the development of Guilty Gear was that when Guilty Gear XX was being developed, Daisuke was looking at the cast of characters and he realized that there were most of the characters they were appealed either in like some form of cool or pretty in some different measure. All of them appeal to some form of that. And he realized that the only character who was cute, who had like a cute appeal, quote unquote, was Mei. And he decided that now that the roster had gotten a lot bigger, that it was time to draw up another cute character to kind of balance things out. So he drew up Bridget. So Bridget's original lore is that Bridget was a boy born to as a set of twins, 2 twin boys, born to these parents. They lived in a village that was superstitious about twins of the same sex. So like they were considered cursed or like bad luck. So in order to protect Bridget, the parents raised Bridget as a girl, dressing in like girls' clothes and being named Bridget and stuff like that, and passing them off as like a girl. So where Bridget kind of comes into the series is where it's like weird to talk about this shit because it's like, well, at the time. But like, so at the time where Bridget still identified as a boy, because I believe it's never really implied. Like, okay, to be honest, Bridget has always had kind of a dumb story, like kind of silly. Basically, just a justification for why she's in the game. I think I read a comment that's like Bridget's purpose was to be a character in a fighting game, and everything else was a justification for why they looked a certain way. But basically the idea was that Bridget wanted to prove that they were like a strong boy, big boy. And that was always their thing. They were going to strike out and be a bounty hunter on their own. And they always kind of played off like, I'm actually a boy. You thought I was a girl, but I'm actually a boy kind of thing. Nothing super deep. but I wouldn't necessarily say disrespectful. Just like, okay, just kind of a one-off, almost a gag, basically. I'm actually a boy. A what? In Strive, so Bridget skipped out on Exerd. In Strive, apparently, Bridget in story mode, I didn't even realize, I never played like the arcade mode, so I didn't realize there were like cutscenes and shit. But in Bridget's story mode, let's see, there's a couple things that happened. This, because also Bridget got released like today, like literally the next day after being announced. So there was like with time zones and stuff, there was a bunch of stuff like that got leaked early, or leaked, or is it a leak, or just people got it early or whatever, before other regions, who knows. But basically in Bridget's story mode, essentially she meets, so she's still going as like as a male in the beginning of the story mode. She's still identifying as a male. And then she meets Gold Lewis. She has like a run-in with Gold Lewis, and they do the regular old, "Oh, I thought you were a girl," and they go, "No, I'm a boy." And then later on, I think you have a fight with Kai, like Gold Lewis again, and then you fight Kai, and Gold Lewis comes in to like help you out, because that's like the strive thing. The characters will like come if you're doing well enough, so you'll get like a little assist. So then basically they have a conversation where Bridget kind of implies that, what is it? I listened to it. They basically have a conversation where Gold Lewis recognizes, like, he calls it like hesitation in Bridget's eyes, and suggests like, "Oh, are you like running from something?" And Bridget's kind of like sheepish and gets very like nervous and kind of worried about talking about it. And Gold Lewis kind of tells this story about, honestly, I'm very curious about Gold Lewis's backstory more so now. I can kind of maybe imagine what it is. Like, it might have to do with his job working for the government or something, but he basically says that he kind of like left his family behind and believed that was like the right thing to do or whatever, but in actuality he realized that he was just very lonely, and he didn't really want to do that, and he didn't want to like lie to himself about how he was actually feeling about his like decision. And he basically just says, like, don't lie to yourself about something. Like, it's okay. Like, I think Bridget says something about like being afraid of change and stuff like that. And then Kai kind of jumps in and mentions how when he went public that he was married to Dizzy, he was like, for him, he said something like, being honest with myself and with the world was more important than anything, any kind of pushback I would have, any kind of like criticism I would have gotten. Like the truth was the most important thing to him. And Bridget kind of has a moment where, like a big think, and then eventually says that what exactly? It's kind of like a very back and forth conversation, but eventually Bridget kind of says that she's more comfortable thinking of herself as a girl. And it's actually, when I first heard it, I was a little like, oh really? Huh, that's weird, because I'd always thought like Bridget had always very strongly wanted people to know that, like, hey, like, I'm a boy. Like, I mean, it's been always a thing, like, I'm actually a guy. So for me, it seemed weird that suddenly it felt like a very weird turn, I guess, for the character. The way they did it, I thought was actually very sweet. And again, I'm not trans. I'm not a trans. I thought the way they did it was kind of sweet. I showed it to Kat. She thought it was very sweet as well. And I've seen a lot of trans people online saying that was actually Bridget was an important part of them, like, like back in XX, Bridget was like an important character for kind of like exposing them to ideas about like, oh, that made them kind of understand other ideas about gender that helped them understand themselves better. And then for Bridget to come out as trans in a like the way they handled it apparently resonated very strongly with a lot of trans people. I was like, okay, so maybe this isn't so weird. And just like from listening to the conversation, I thought like, okay, I can actually kind of see like where this came from. It was never implied that like, again, like Bridget has never had a ton of like detail like in her backstory, so I don't think it was ever confirmed that her parents like literally raised her as a girl, but that they like presented her to the town as a girl. They could have told her that she was a boy the whole time. We don't know. But essentially what it comes down to is that Bridget was trying to prove that she was like manly or whatever, by being like a bounty hunter. And then once she gained like success as a bounty hunter, realized that like the idea of like being male was not as just kind of fulfilling. Really, it was like she just wanted to be recognized or approved, I guess. And being recognized as a man was not fulfilling for her. Jeez, my fucking throat is dry. Forgive me if I'm coughing a little more as this goes on. I'm pretty sure, like, I'd have to just, like, review the dialogue a little more, but I listened to it once through, and I saw some other people quoting it. But honestly, it's pretty in line. I can definitely, I'm like, yeah, someone's going to be upset about this. I don't really give a fuck. Guilty Gear's always been very much about, like, I don't know, like, about... When we say it's something's about something, it's always very vague. Guilty Gear's had a lot of... It's one of the fighting game series that gives a lot of its characters actually very, like, involved, like, story arcs, where, like, a lot happens to them and a lot changes for them. And it's also always been... When I was thinking about it, and I realized that there's a very common through line throughout a lot of character arcs in Guilty Gear, where a lot of it is actually just characters, like, learning to stop lying to themselves. Like Kai's whole deal is that he's, like, the super Christian good boy, and he falls in love with, like, the daughter of the devil, essentially. Because Gears are kind of like the devil. They're like evil, demonic. That's kind of how they're framed against the holy knights. And Justice is like the origin, like the devil gear. The super command type gear that controls all of the gears. And her daughter is Dizzy, and Kai starts out wanting to kill her and then kind of like learns that she's actually like a pacifist, and she kind of like changes his views on what gears are to the point where he ends up falling in love with her and like having a kid. And like obviously Kai has a lot of flaws as like a father and everything, but it's like a big deal for him to like come to terms with the fact that like he has like maybe all of his ideas about things were not correct, or when he was exposed to certain things, like his opinions changed. There's other, I mean, fucking Venom's whole storyline is him realizing that, like, maybe it's okay if Zato doesn't love me back. Maybe it's okay if he's with, if he's in love with Milia. Like, it makes him happy, and it's okay. I need to get over it, and I have to move on and find fulfillment in other things. Which is why, like, he just quits being an assassin and opens a bakery and adopts a little boy. Oh fuck, who else? Fuck, I mean, if you want to keep on the assassins, Milia's whole storyline is about realizing that she's like not knowing like what to do or what she should do, and kind of grappling with like, should I stay an assassin? I kind of hate it, but it gives me like this purpose. And she has to like learn how to like forgive herself and like accept herself. Faust's storyline is about thinking that he did something horrible and then trying to turn this like insane, like literally maddening guilt into like a positive thing, where he tries to like help people. This is like a through line throughout all of Guilty Gear. Is basically just learning to stop lying to yourself or making the best out of your situation. It happens to a lot of characters. And in terms of like the gender identity expression thing, if you look at the shit that Daisuke loves, Daisuke loves 80s like metal and rock and stuff. Like there is so much like androgyny and playing with gender norms and stuff like that in the music that he loves. I mean, fucking he loves Freddie Mercury. Freddie Mercury was super gay. The idea that characters would have, would not every character in the series would be straight, or that they might have, they would maybe like play with gender ideas. Like, I always thought that was weird that people thought the Testament being like a non-binary or genderless people were like so freaked out about that as like a political statement, as if it was so out of like there's no way that you could just make a character who was like above humanity, who played with the idea of like gender, who like explored that idea in a way that was not like purely male or female. Like, this was so beyond certain people, they could not like accept that there was a fictional character who was exploring these ideas. I thought it was very silly. So like, yeah, I mean, Bridget is now a girl. Or I guess was always a girl. But now officially confirmed a girl. La-di-da-di-da. Anyway, yeah, so Bridget is it fucking, if we're gonna done talking about like gender identity stuff and fucking Guilty Gear lore, so Bridget's a returning character from the XX series who has not been around in quite a while. Gameplay wise, so Bridget's deal was that she was so in XX, her deal is essentially she's kind of like a little bitch. Like, she just sort of runs away from you, and she's super mobile. She doesn't do very big damage, but she's kind of like a hit and run character with lots of like very obnoxious ass setups. So Bridget is like a roller derby nun with a teddy bear. She is a yo-yo and a teddy bear that's like alive and tells her to kill people, named Roger. So in XX, basically, she has a couple different like yo-yo moves. She can place, instead of a heavy slash button, she can actually place the yo-yo in different positions around the screen. And then she has moves that interact with the yo-yo. So she can just like recall it to her and it'll like do damage on the way back. She has a bunch of different special moves where she can make, basically Roger will like teleport to the yo-yo and like become the yo-yo. It's weird. The yo-yo like turns into Roger, and Roger the bear will just like she's got one where like he punches forward. There's one where he gets he has like a buzz saw that spins through him or like around his torso, and he like floats backwards towards her. She has one, I forget what the one that's like a weird little lock-on targeting reticle does, but that's another one. There's one where Roger like is at from like the point of where the yo-yo was set. Roger like does this weird little dive flop onto the ground. I think that was like most of them, but yeah, that was so the idea was like Bridget had and then she could also what's it called? She has a special move where she would like just spin, like pull herself towards the yo-yo. So the way she kind of played was very like long, using a lot of like long range moves with the yo-yo, and then placing the yo-yo in the air and like zooming towards it, and playing very like all over the, very like frantic all over the place, and then like getting a knockdown, and then placing a yo-yo, and then having Roger do a little punch or a little saw move and try and loop offense on you like that. Oh, also, she randomly has like the best DP in the game. It isn't like, I don't know if you'd consider it like a true DP because she doesn't like rise in the air, but it's the best like reversal in the game, literally. Fully invulnerable. She just like spins her yo-yos around her. She fully invulnerable. Pretty high hitbox. It can technically be low profiled, but covers a lot of space from like the knees up. And you can combo off of it. Also, if the opponent blocks it, it does like a weird amount of hit stun. I don't know why. Like it doesn't. I think it's like the hitboxes are like timed to the actual like spin of the yo-yo, so the hit stun is very weird. So it's like very weird to punish. Punishes aren't like always guaranteed, depending on like where you get hit in the move or where you block the move. Oh, and it has an FRC point at the end that can make it plus on block. An FRC point is just like you spend 25 meter on certain moves. On certain moves, you can basically do a Roman cancel for reduced cost, and but only at like a specific point in the move. So she has one where on her little, it's called Starship, her reversal, that can make it safe. So randomly, one of the best reversals in the game. Most characters do not get all of that. It's either DPs are usually like very it puts you in the air, so if you whiff it, it's kind of dangerous because you're just going to be falling, or it puts you in counter hit state if it gets blocked, and stuff like that. Or usually, rarely can characters actually combo off of their DPs. She has the very rare ability to do that. So that's basically how Bridget plays in XX. In Strive, they already released her starter guide. Everything's out. In Strive, Bridget basically... she's out right now. I haven't had the chance to play her because I want to get her with the Season Pass. And, funny story. So because I was away from my computer for a week, I was not able... I set up auto withdraw on Patreon. So it claimed my payouts from my patrons, my wonderful patrons, on the 5th of the month. And I was like, cool, I got my money. Did it automatically. However, what I forgot was that it goes through PayPal. And I have to... So I was at the convention, and I just checked my bank account, and I was like, oh, that is not the amount of money I was expecting to be in there. And I saw it had a little thing that said, there was a little note that said like transaction pending or withdrawal pending or fund, something like that. And I was like, oh no, I have to withdraw it on PayPal, and I don't have the PayPal app on my phone, only access it on my desktop. So I was like, okay, not going to spend anything. So as soon as I got home, I withdrew my money from PayPal. PayPal does this really fun thing where you have to wait like 3 days for your funds to come in. And if you don't, you have to spend like a small fee, like of about $1 to get it instantly. And now Patreon and PayPal both take a cut of what you make. So they're already eating into my earnings, and so I did not make as much as I was expecting to make because the percentage that Patreon takes goes up with the more you make, up to a cap. I have not hit the cap yet, so I was kind of surprised at how much I made. It was not what I was expecting. So I was like, I don't think I want to pay even a cent more right now. So when that comes in, I will probably invest in the season pass. But for right now, let's I'll wait. I'll watch the videos. But her starter guide came out. I have not had the chance to play her. The starter guide came out, so they were able to show off her moveset and everything. honestly one of the more faithful, how would you call it? Recreations, I guess, or translations of a character into Strive. So the main thing she lost, which I was sort of expecting, right? If you'd asked me, I might have been able to like say this, was all the Roger follow-ups. Excuse me. So they sort of streamlined. So they took out. Let's see. Where do I start? So she can no longer place the yo-yo with her just heavy slash button. It's now a special move, and there are two forms of it. There's like a straight ahead one and a diagonal one, and I believe it can be used in the air. And there's you can either do quarter circle forward or back, and it changes. That changes whether or not it does damage on the way to the end point, or when it eventually comes back to her, because it comes back like a yo-yo after a delay. So that's kind of just like a simplification, which I'm fine with. I was never really super into I actually really liked Bridget. I liked some of her moves in XX, especially her little like roller skates move, where she like does a big dash forwards. I always thought that one was fun. And it is also still here. What's called shoot, I think, where she like, okay, so it's basically a move where she zooms forwards on her roller skates, and there's two different follow-ups you can do. You can do, it's called shoot, which is where she'll do like a jump that will go over lows, actually, or a lot of lows, and she'll spin her yo-yos around her, and it'll just be a big cyclone of damage. And the other one is break, where she'll break, and there'll be like a skid, like psst, that like shoots out where she's stopping, and that will also do damage. It looks like the hitbox on that is a lot smaller than it is in XX. I feel like the hitbox in XX is so big for that move, but she still has that. It looks like, yeah, the main thing she lost was basically just the Roger follow-ups. So, which makes sense because Strive is not a very like Okizeme focused game. It's more neutral based. There is Okizeme, of course, there is set play, but it's less built into the characters' kits. So it's understandable. For the most part, she kept most of her stuff, and actually got some new stuff. I was actually looking. Let me double check her Dust Loop page. So I had it up from. Yeah, ACR Bridget. Okay. Special moves. I'm just to make my. Oh, I don't. Oh, I forgot that they. I forgot that she had that in ACR. Bridget is randomly in XX. She's one of two characters who's able to delay their wake up. The other one is Robokai. So she's actually able to like hold down. Yeah, so you can place. So while you're knocked down, you can like hold H, and it will set a yo-yo. She'll set a yo-yo in the air, not like completely invulnerable, and then she'll get up. So it'll delay her wake up. So it gives her just like a way to kind of like scoot. Bridget's actually got some pretty decent defense because of her incredible DP and the delayed wake up. It just lets her like kind of do some tricky stuff if she gets knocked down. Let's see. Yeah, so it's still got the so regular yo-yo stuff, placing it comes back. Kickstart my heart, that's what it's called, the roller skating move. Still got the DP. All the Roger moves are gone. And still has the move with where she spins towards the. Oh yeah, wow. So still has the move where she spins towards the yo-yo. So literally the only thing she lost was the Roger follow-ups. Pretty much everything else is here. Plus one new move. It's a command grab that where she like jumps forwards. It has like a lot of range. And if she does it in the, there's also an aerial version that can only grab you in the air. But it was actually like, I was thinking about it. I'm like, wait, so if you're like pressuring someone with Bridget, you're like up close to them, you're threatening the command grab, right? Usually the counterplay to a command grab is to jump because you can't be grabbed on the ground when you're jumping. But if she does like instant, what is, I have to look up the if you do like instant or really fast like jumping command grab, are you then able to, yeah, there she is. Are you then able to oh, she still got the 3. Oh, 3P is now 6H, the butt bounce. Are you then able to I have to look this up. Oh, okay, so it's like a Potemkin Buster input. Half circle back, forward punch. So can combo from stop and dash. Stop and dash is the yo-yo move. Whoa. So like you can pressure them with the command grab, or you can like threaten to do it, and then if they jump to try and escape it, then can you like jump and just do a really fast command grab in the air, and they like can't do shit about it unless maybe you can get hit out of it, like if they jump and do like a punch or something with a lot of active frames. Damn, that's actually really cool. It does have it is very punishable because there's a lot of recovery, but yeah. Oh, and then this fun little move in the air, special only usable in the air, where she gets the big Roger out, the big Teddy, and then does like a dive bomb. Kind of similar to the big flop move that Roger has in the last, in XX. But she just kind of dive bombs straight downward with him. Yeah, that move looks annoying as shit because it immediately, excuse me, you can do it at any point in the jump, and it will immediately change your momentum to just like, you'll just stop in the air and then just drop down. And from the looks of it, you can actually like change, like kind of list left and right. So yeah, the go-to for this is 100% like combo into knockdown, and then just like jump over them, do this move, and just make a super ambiguous, like you aren't even gonna know which side this is hitting on, like you're falling right on top of them. Yeah. You're gonna have to fuzzy the shit out of that one if you're on defense. Oh, and technically, I guess she did lose one super, but it's like the weird super she has where like she fucking explodes. The big one where she does like a bunch of loop-the-loop tricks with Roger, and then Roger gets really big and does a big butt stomp. Still there. And okay, it looks like they made this move less annoying. I don't know if it's actually going to be less annoying, but so she has this move. I forget what it's called, or if it has the same name in XX. Here it's called Return of the Killing Machine. In XX, this move is essentially wherever the yo-yo is, Roger will appear, and he'll be riding like a unicycle in like a circle of flames, and it like auto tracks onto the opponent. And this thing is active for fucking ever. It is out, and it is just spinning on top of you forever. And it is the mix, it's the pressure machine, it's the suck super. the blender. In this version of the character, in Strive, looks like they have not really Not quite the same insane, like, ridiculous pressure. It looks more like, basically like, well, first of all, much smaller. Okay, well, I should say, first of all, Roger's now on a motorcycle, and he has sunglasses on. And he kind of tracks the opponent, but just kind of speeds off in their direction, and just keeps them locked down for a bit. Right now, the day 1 notes on Dust Loop says useful for ranges, blah, 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 where Loop the Loop and Drift RC will not connect. Otherwise, possibly better uses for your meter. This looks more like just like a pressure thing. I don't know if it's going to be quite as good as Testament's Suck Super, but, yeah. So, yeah, Bridget honestly looks really cool. I'm really excited to, like, get my hands on her. That sounds weird. And just kind of check her out. She looks like she's also still low damage, which I might not vibe with super hard. I generally like those big damage characters. But hey, she could be really fun. You know, I'm always willing to try out new things, new characters. And a lot of her normals look cool. Big normals. Look at that big far slash. Jesus Christ. Yeah, and just in general, I mean, it should go without saying, but her animations look fantastic. I really like just the visual clarity of, like, this big red yo-yo swinging with, like, the speed kind of blur lines. Really cool looking. Yeah, so just very unexpected, but a welcome addition. She's back. The girl is back, and she is a girl. Yeah, oh, they nerfed the DP. It's now rises into the air. Still invulnerable from the looks of it, but yeah, I was like, oh, they nerfed the DP. Yeah, from just like the random gameplay they were showing off in like the starter guide and the trailer, looks like kind of like less of like a hit and run, just kind of run away from you the whole match and just gets you with these little combos every now and again. Less of that and more of like very tricky, weird movement. Really leaning into the movement thing with, so like her, what's this move called? Rolling movement. Where she spins towards the yo-yo. Rolling movement. So you can delay the actual, so you can like, it's like a quarter circle back kick. You can hold down kick and actually delay when she starts moving. And you can cancel out of the roll at like any point with anything. Like you can double jump, you can do an attack, you can air dash, you can do a special move. Like a lot of like really tricky things with like changing her momentum. I can see like it's probably some interesting like pressure and setups, and for a character with like good range too. With like all these big yo-yo flings that she's got. Yeah, Bridget looks cool. I'm happy with what they did with her. I'm glad that I mean, it's been a while. She was one of those characters that I was like, maybe down the line. I'm surprised the first character of season 2. Like, I cannot tell you what they're gonna do next. It's like, fuck, I hope Slayer. I think they said something about, like, a lot of returning characters this season, so, like, you know what that means. Slayer, Johnny, Venom, fuck it, Robokai. I'd like to see Robokai back. They're on the table. Oh, man. Well, we've been going for about a little over 2 hours. Exciting Evo. A lot of good shit. Some great announcements. And, yeah. I don't think I have really anything else to say. but it's been a good time. Been a good time. Glad to be back home. Glad to be doing things again. If you've been listening this far, thank you so much for listening. If you have a question, leave it down in the comments below, and I will definitely get to it next time. But please leave it in the form of a question, because I'm not just going to read your thoughts out loud. Check out the main channel. I have a Patreon. And, is there anything else I say at the end of these? Not really. Goodbye.